Hey you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Boost! I'm YouTube famous now. All right, let's get into this video, shall we? So today I'm going to talk about the Jeffree Star Magic Star Concealer that was revealed yesterday on his channel. He did a video with Gabriel Zamora. I covered that whole video yesterday. If you would like to go check it out, it will probably be linked at the end of this video. Go check it out. But he did like a 30-minute video showing the entire shade range. There's 30 shade ranges within his concealers, and the price point is $22 a concealer. So I wanted to kind of come on here today and talk about this whole idea of shade range. Is it inclusive? Is it not? And I'll tell you why I thought this would be an interesting video to make. I really want to hear what you guys have to say about it, because I kind of went in and did some like investigations trying to find out what people really thought about this. And I saw some very like, I would say severe pro or severe con opinions about the shade ranges in there. So I wanted to talk about it and just kind of stay neutral. No pun intended, but for you guys to say what you have to say in the comment section below. I'm very, very interested to hear what you have to say, to see if you think that the 30 shade ranges are inclusive, if they are non-inclusive, what you think about all of this. And the reason why I think it's an interesting topic specific to Jeffree Star is because he has made a really, really big deal about the inclusivity of shade ranges when makeup brands come out with concealers and foundations, okay? For example, a year ago, on January 18th of 2018, on his video, The Truth, Tarte Shape Tape Foundation Review, he said in a statement, in the video, not a statement, it wasn't a press release, but in the video he said that he thinks that this is a very important topic to talk about. And I agree, and I think it's something that we should continue to talk about. So it's interesting to me that there's not tons being said about this when Jeffree Star is the person that has kind of initiated this conversation from the beginning and talking about how important it is. I'm going to go in and I'm going to read this Reddit thread that talks a lot about the shade ranges and what they think about it there. And I will tell you that there's a lot of people in there that think that the shade range is completely fine. There's a lot of people that have issues with the shade ranges. And so when I was reading it, like, I didn't get really any great feeling which way people really, like the majority of people, feel about this. So that's why I wanted to make the video and hear what you guys have to say. I looked on YouTube, there's only like one video about the shade ranges, and it's pro, the shade ranges, and they believe that the shade ranges are perfectly fine. So the one thing I do want to say that I thought was kind of interesting about this was that in Jeffree's video a year ago, and I went in and I wrote down exactly what the statements were because I didn't want to get them incorrect. But a year ago in his Truth Tarte Shape Tape Foundation Review, when he's criticizing their shade ranges, he said, I think this is a very important topic to talk about. It is also something that a lot of brands put under the radar. Don't bother putting out this foundation until you are ready with a full inclusive line. And so what he's saying in that is, until you have a line that is completely inclusive of every person's shade range out there, which, you know, it makes me, and I don't wear makeup, so I don't know, and this is where I want you guys to say what you really believe in the comment section below. I don't even know, is that possible? You know, like, I really don't know how possible that is, and what lines out there are fully inclusive, you know. And and he said something about Fenty Beauty too, that he was, so that comes up in the Reddit thread, we're going to talk about that. But what was interesting to me about his statement a year ago, where he said, don't bother putting out this foundation until you are ready with a full inclusive line. If you watch his video from yesterday, what he says to Gabriel Zamora in there is, so this is my start. We're starting with 30, and it will definitely be expanding, and I can't wait to hear if we're missing anyone's shades to even create them. So what's interesting to me about that is that a year later, when he comes out with his concealer range, what he's saying is, this is just a start for us. Well, isn't that what you criticized Tarte for? Like, so I'm very confused about that, right? But I think, like yesterday I said in my video that I thought it was smart for him to say that, because you don't know what people are going to come out and say like, this isn't my shade range and blah, 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 whatever. So I think it's a very interesting conversation. You know, it does look to me like he's worked on these concealers for quite some time. A lot of people seem to be very, very excited about him. In my video yesterday, people were extremely excited about the concealers. So let me know in the comment section below, are you planning on buying these? What do you think about them? What do you think about the packaging? You know, it was interesting because I talked a lot about the Sailor Moon packaging yesterday and that he referenced that in his video, which is interesting because, and a lot of people said things in support of Jeffree about this, but I think there's, in talking about the drama between Manny and Jeffree and him referencing Sailor Moon, of which I must be listening, it must have been a long day for me yesterday or something, because apparently I missed all kinds of shade that Jeffree Star threw out to the world in his video. Apparently he was putting on foundation, allegedly, I don't know, I didn't go back and watch this part, but with his middle finger, and he said, I'm not flicking anybody off, and apparently there was all kinds of shade, maybe people were just picking it out, I don't know. In fairness to him, maybe he had no idea what he was saying or doing. But it's interesting, right? So anyway, but I also think that anybody that's followed Manny for quite some time knows that, like, Manny's a huge Sailor Moon fan. So, you know, like, it's interesting when then he referenced the Sailor Moon packaging and whatever. And I don't know if Manny's reveal video is out yet, but my God, can you imagine if it was concealers that looked just like the Sailor Moon packaging? Because apparently a lot of people have said that Jeffree Star's packaging looks a lot like the Sailor Moon packaging. So, oh, Manny, pull that video. If that's what it is, pull that video. Just do something else. Come out with a line of, I don't know, anti-dandruff soap or something. But do something different. Come up with some magic pills like Toddy. Do something. Don't be putting out no concealer that looks like Jeffree Star. You'll be screwed if you do. So anyway, I'm looking down here at my prop because on my other channel, Peter Reviews Stuff, if you like that channel at all today, I've been reviewing Easter products. I'm reviewing the Peeps cereal, so come over and join me for that. All right, so let's get into what... It's all a bit crazy. So let's get into what the Reddit said. And they put up, this was 23 hours ago, Jeffree Star reveals his new concealer and setting powder. And then somebody said, everyone's, and I'm just going to read through it, but it gets to a part where it talks about the shade range, and it's like extremely long. Everyone's saying this is a good price. Think again. This thing has barely any product. It has a third of what Shape Chart has. So that would make this $66 compared to the $27 Tarte sells for 33 ounces, or 0.33 ounces. But that's interesting to me, and like I said, I don't know enough about it, but he does show with the, what do you call it, the dough cap, like how much you can use per, like, dip into the product. So that was interesting to me. Gabriel started off the video with, I use these and they're good, but acted surprised at every reveal as if he's never seen them before. Girl, he ain't worried about it, okay? Listen, Gabriel Zamora is at Coachella right now with Nikita Dragon and Bretman Rock, and they are living their best life, right? And yesterday, he was, James Charles was with them. James Charles was with Nikita Dragon. Do you think that's Jeffree Star approved, James? Anyway, so that was kind of interesting to me. And then somebody said, it felt like one of those ads that are on at 3 a.m. selling some revolutionary duster. Oh my God, this entire thing was so cringe, and it's hilarious that Jeffree didn't put Gabriel's name in the title or his pic in the thumbnail or anything. Wouldn't you want to promote your friends? He did. He said in there his social media stuff, so I thought, you know, whatever. What kind of QVC tribute act was this video? 3.5 milliliters for $22? Absolutely not. And then all these people say stuff bad taste in my mouth. Not a fan of how he tried throwing shade at other companies for overpricing concealers, yet he's charging 3.5 milliliters for $22. Shape Tape is 10 milliliters for $27. Exactly, I was kind of baffled when he said that other brands are overpricing their concealers when he literally charges $22 for 3.5 milliliters of product. Even his liquid lipsticks contain more product than his concealers, not to mention they're cheaper as well. And then people go in here and they're all saying kind of the same thing. I was tricked at first until he said that it was only 3.5 milliliters of product. So what do you guys think about that, the pricing of this? Seems like the half of the price, it is just the component, which, yeah, okay, it's cute, but I'd rather have more concealer. Second this. What the heck, 3.5 milliliters, that's barely anything. So apparently all of these people go in here and they are supportive of thinking that it's too expensive. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Yesterday in my video I said it was fair pricing, but I was saying that in regards to Jeffree Star's, like, other products and what they're priced. So I don't know. Talking to a friend of mine on the phone today, she was like, $22 for concealer is way overpriced. She was like, especially when he hasn't put out a concealer, so we don't know what that concealer is going to be like yet. Like, yes, his other makeup is fantastic, but we don't know that this is going to hold up to his other makeup. We have no idea. So anyway, let's see. And then somebody said in here, 30 shades, 3.5 milliliters, peach and green. Okay, they go in. Okay, so the swatches, they're talking about the swatches. How many, okay, let's go in here. I think a shade range is fine and better than most. I think people are reaching. The top row is light to medium and the bottom is medium to dark. The whole bottom looks darker than that. I think it could be more variations and undertones, but I think depth range is more important. So somebody said, there's literally a row and a half of pure stark white to every imaginable beige, and yet there are still not enough cool olive tone deep shades. Maybe they look different in person. So much for Shading Beauty Blender. And somebody said, sis, I'm not a huge fan of him either, but calling the first half of the second row pure stark white, and here, I'll throw them up here right now so you guys can look at them. Second row, pure stark white is straight up lying. Even the end of the first row is stretching for that. I read his comment like that too, but after rereading, I see he's saying the range of the first row and a half goes from pure stark white to shades of beige. That is what I thought. I just saw Trend Mood post him, and for all the shit he was throwing out at companies, he only has one that caters to deep and 3 to medium. I just, what? If you're going to say you're so much more inclusive, actually be inclusive. And before he claims the rest of the dark shades are coming, but he dropped the collection earlier than planned because of the break-in. Okay, so then they go in here and say all this kind of stuff. That would be especially hilarious since he also shaded Tarte, who ended up doing shade extensions. This seemed like the easiest alley-oop to land other than Blue Blood, which did very well. I'm kind of baffled, to be honest. I wonder how his stance will defend this. And then it goes in and says some kind of ugly stuff, which I'm not going to read. Yeah, somebody says, what an ugly joke. Someone, yeah, I'm confused. I thought the shade range would be better after all the shade he threw, yet he has 10 shades of the same. And then somebody said he has to cater to the pale princesses. They are his demographic after all. For anyone that's ever commented, okay, somebody said, I'm one of those super pale girls who had a hard time finding concealer, didn't complain about it on people's videos though, but Revolution came through with that for me. They have an actual pure white one, LOL, but this shade range has barely any choice for darker skin tones. I'm disappointed that after all the shit he gave other brands, his would be just as bad. Okay, I had to stop the video because I'm literally like coughing up a lung. I'm really not sure how some people are saying these are 10 shades of the same. Each shade is explained exactly what it is, which is true. He goes and explains exactly what each shade is. And they're all different undertones, including an olive in each category. Where is this? There are only 3 shades for medium skin. There's at least 7 shades for medium. Of all the things to drag people, people want to drag the range, and it just doesn't make, it just makes no sense. It's literally the least wrong, it's literally the least thing wrong. Formula, price point, packaging are all actually things to drag. But honestly, I wish he never released these and just stuck with eyeshadow and lipsticks. And then somebody says, yeah, for how much shit he talked, I thought his range would be better than this. And then someone says, that looks like a lot of shades that work for my pale ass and not a lot for anyone who has a decent amount of melanin. I know it's the beginning shade range, and he said that they'd fill in gaps, but damn, why not start with an equal amount of shades for different shade ranges and not an overwhelming amount for the first 4 ranges, like a warm, cool, neutral, and fair, light, light, medium, medium, deep, deepest, and then fill in for in-betweens and whatnot. I'm super curious to see how sales are though, especially for the deeper shades on the spectrum. And maybe that's it. Like, does he know who he's selling to? You know, I don't know. But, you know, in talking about this extension, it's interesting because, like he said about the Tarte Shape Tape, it's like if you can't start with a fully inclusive, you know, what did he say? Let me refer to my notes. If you can't, don't bother putting out this foundation until you are ready with a full inclusive line. So it is interesting that he says that. You know, I do think that, like, maybe the discussion that needs to be had is, I don't know, like, could we come up with, for makeup brands, what a perfect line would look like, you know? Like, that would be interesting to me, to have several people come out and come up with it and say, this is what a perfect line of concealer or foundation would look like. And any brand that comes out with anything less than this isn't meeting the par, but this is the expectation across the board. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be interesting because I think for anybody that releases it, there's always going to be somebody that isn't happy with the release of what comes out. I don't know, that's just my perspective of what I've seen happen with every line that comes out. And literally, like, to some degree, I mean, he's taking a huge risk coming out and releasing this. you know, and it's interesting to me that any kind of like line that's coming out with concealers or foundations, like the first thing people want to talk about is the shade range, right? So it is interesting in here to me that this person says in here, you know, like, what do they say? Of all the things to drag, people want to drag the range, and it just makes no sense. It actually makes a lot of sense because it's one of the things that Jeffree Star has focused on over and over and over again with other brands. So the same criticism is going to be brought to his doorstep when he comes out with a line that has a shade range on it. So it makes a lot of sense that people are coming for that and having that discussion. And quite frankly, this is why I made the video. I'm surprised there isn't more of a discussion being had about it. So that's why I wanted to see what you guys had to say about all of this in the comment section below. I'm just really interested. I have a feeling that it's going to be kind of split down the middle. And I think that a lot of people are going to be like, I'm totally fine with this shade range. I think it's great. And I think a lot of other people are going to say, no, it's not inclusive. So I don't know. Then what's the answer to that? You know what I mean? Like, let's see. Somebody said, I'm excited to try this, but I have no idea how to figure out what shade I am. I haven't used concealer or foundation in years. I have matte concealer, but it's from like 10 years ago, and the label is worn off. And according to Jeffree, it will be out in Morphe stores, but not Ulta, unfortunately. And there were several people in this thread that said that they were going to go to Morphe and actually try out the concealer because they wanted to see what tone they were, which I thought was interesting as well. And like Morphe's not in every city, so what do you do if it's not in your city and you have to buy it online? I don't know, that will be interesting, as well as like some kind of like return policy on that, because you would have to try it to see if it worked, right? Somebody said, I swear at one point he said he was coming for Fenty with his concealers, and now I'm like, girl, if you're coming, you're like on the other side of the planet. Well, I don't know about that, so that's allegedly, I don't know if he said that. Somebody said, if you like the packaging, just buy the Sailor Moon eyeliner pen. You can even collect different Sailor wands, LOL. Okay, they go back in here and they talk about that. When Jeffree goes on about how it's so full coverage and can cover his tattoo, yet it couldn't even cover Gabriel's dark mark once blended out. Pass. The people go in here about him covering up his tattoo not very well. Somebody's going in here, they're talking about Gabriel not being a great actor. Somebody said, wasn't planning on buying this anyway, but right off the bat, Gabby was trying to cover some discoloration on his cheek, and the concealer didn't cover it at all. And somebody else said, I noticed that he was trying to cover a mark on his cheek when he first tried it out, and it didn't cover it at all. LMAO, Jeffree swatched on his tattoo, and it covers, but he didn't blend it, so it doesn't prove anything because anyone can do that with any concealer and foundation. And somebody said, pick our timestamp, and they said about 14 minutes in, which is interesting to me because I think that Jeffree would really be careful about editing that, don't you think? Oh, there's one more reply. It's in the first couple minutes of the video, somebody says. I think that somebody like Jeffree, who is so protective of his makeup brands, would go in and make sure that that wasn't there, didn't look like that, I would think, you know? More people say, this looks so much like Sailor Moon knockoff makeup. The shade range is laughable considering all the shit he's talked, and the price for the tiny amounts is sickening. Not in a good way. Big yikes. And somebody said, exactly, and he criticized other brands for coming out with shades later, and now says in the video that he plans to add more later if any shades are missing. Okay, sis, it's almost as you are doing the exact same as the companies you shit talked. And then somebody said, this literally mirrors the shades from the Beauty Blender Foundation, and remember how much shit he talked about that? The last year, he's been dragging brands for their shade range and talking every opportunity to shit on others because my brand will be inclusive. We have 30 concealer shades, and this is what he's showing up with. Indeed, I am shocked he decided to release this, but also I highly doubt he is even going to get criticized half as much as Beauty Blender. Nothing seems to touch him, and I have no idea why. Then people go in here and say some things that I'm not going to read because they're not very nice. Are you guys being serious? The shade range itself is fine. It's a good range of light to medium to dark. What are you guys looking at? And somebody says the shade range is pretty evenly split. It's like 15 light medium and 15 medium dark. And somebody said, I'm counting 20 light to medium at a push, 3 tan, medium, and 7, here's your inclusivity, but okay. Forgive me for this garbage line, but I'm usually the lightest shade if I'm lucky, and I could get away with wearing most of that top row. That's not good enough. He catered to the whites for sure. Okay, I stopped the video because it started getting a little cruel, and I'm not going to go there. Then it goes in here. The shade range is very wonky to say he calls out other brands for lacking in the dark shade department. Then somebody said they also all look very yellow toned, kind of like NARS. Did they steal all the medium, tan, dark shades too? Because like this man talked himself up only to disappoint. And then somebody said also the bottle makes them look like hot dogs. I don't see that at all, but whatever. How does he have the balls to call out other brands for their shade ranges and then release his collection? The difference between the lightest and darkest in the first row compared to the second tells you all you need to know. It seems like the two biggest issues in here. The thing is that for as much shit as he talks on other brands, he should have had like 200 shades. I wish someone would call him out for the shade range and how little product you get for the price. Well, I guess you just did in the comment. And then I think the shade range is decent and not as bad as people are making it out to be while looking at the actual swatches. My only beef is that he was so woke about his shade range that it was going to be amazing and practically dragging companies for having the exact range he has. I was expecting more tones for medium dark skin straight off the back of the launch. Also, $22. I love the packaging, but won't be paying that much. I'm interested to see reviews and what everyone thinks about it. So anyway, it's interesting when you go in here and see all that everybody has to say about it, you know? The two issues that people seem to... Okay, well, people go in here and they talk about the smell, too, of it being like burnt cotton candy. I love cotton candy, but there's no way I want to smell like that at 7 in the morning, somebody says. The shade range is actually okay. In my opinion, the swatches do it justice compared to the actual picture of the shade range. But for real, Jeffree Star is coming for that. Okay. The comment section, oh my God. This comment section, I will tell you, gets a little ruthless in here. The first half of the concealers look the same to me. Then going on to the dark spectrum, those look the same too. There is no in between. Is it just me? And then people go in here and they say all this kinds of stuff about the shade range and whatever. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to think about it. If you've watched the video, what do you think about the shade ranges? Do you think they're inclusive? Do you think they're fair? Do you think he could have done better? Do you think it's enough? Like, what do you guys think? I'm very, very interested to hear what you think in the comment section below and to have the conversation and listen and be classy and be considerate. We don't have to be cruel. We don't have to be mean. We can be nice and have an educated, intellectual conversation in the comment section below. You know, I think this whole idea of shade range is very, very interesting, and it's going to be something that's going to continue to happen every time somebody comes out with a foundation, every time somebody comes out with a concealer. It's going to be a discussion that people want to have. It's interesting to me that like it wasn't more discussed in Jeffree's video, especially since he's made such a huge issue about it. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.